Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Cannabis Legalization News, the podcast where we cover cannabis laws, policy, and business. We have our year roundup as we burn through 2024. Uh, Crazy year, right? Just wait until we see what happens next year. And we have hodgepodge of stories from national news to state news, quite a few of them. So we'll be taking up the full hour. Glad that you joined us. If this is your first time here, give us a like, consider subscribing if you want to learn more about the industry. And now let's get into the news. And I'm going to bring up our trending story.
Hey,
Hey, Miggy, you took yours off, but how do I take? Oh, wait, it's just
there's a
set to.
solo, there's a duo.
There's a dual. There we go. There we go. Awesome.
Hey, new webcam. Who's this?
New
What's
webcam. Good for you, man. The other one just died on you, huh?
That's what happens when you actually pull it out by accident with your foot. But what up, everybody?
What's happening? Yeah. So like our main story for the week is Cannabis Reform 2024, the year of all talk, no action. That was pretty true. I mean, like we were so excited, 2022 when Biden decided to reschedule it, in 2023 when it seemed like it was starting to move, and then 2024, you get hit with a hearing, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have a hearing, a public comment period." That went really well.
You were excited when Schumer announced the cock-out bill.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then Schumer said that we're going to get some movement on safe banking. No, you're not. Which again, like you see all this stuff, and you're just getting doors slammed in your face left and right, and you're like, I just find it hard to believe that this goes away simply by calling it hemp. But yet there it is. They're still out there. That's one thing that didn't change either. No hemp change in 2024.
True story. Yeah, coming from Bazinga, this is the first one we're looking at, and they do mention the federal rescheduling being an issue. Blumenauer,
Blumenauer, but he's retiring too, right?
Yes, a champion in Congress that's been like, we are going to be like
decades of doing nothing, but like he was actually trying to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and the gentleman from Tennessee, right? Like those both. I forget his name, but this is going to be like Lucy and Peanuts, right? Where she keeps moving the football, right? That's what this business. This is. Hey, your head got tiny.
Yep. I was messing with my stuff. I didn't like how zoomed in I was.
No, that's what I'm saying. I hate this fucking cam. It's like, boom, I got no options. I'm like, no, you going there? You going there? No, just my fucking head. Anyways, Blumenauer is retiring. That's going to be another stagnant issue for next year.
The other thing that happened, nothing in the stock market for cannabis stocks. Cannabis stocks. Hope you didn't buy any. You should have bought Tesla. Yeah.
No, you should have bought Reddit. Mine fucking quadrupled.
But Reddit, nice.
Yes. But the stock thing, because you've always followed the stock thing ever since we've been doing this. I mean, you've been
a grown-up stockbroker.
Yeah, but that's the grown-up side of like business, right? Like I never really cared about that side. I think most people don't care about the MSO side, right? It's like our buddy Cole, right? He's kind of like a champion against like big cannabis, right? But
sure,
eventually that's going to happen. Like this is the whole point of legalization. It is for this parity of business that happens, right? Like people fighting for hemp right now. I think it's funny because it's like when I started doing activism and you're like fighting against people getting locked up, whether it's because it was their medicine for a collective or business, right? Like regular just selling a good Friday night. Either way, I always believe people could be part of it. And like now that people are fighting against the hemp thing and saying, well, now we're going after these vape shops. Well, the vape shops have put the guy off the street out of business. So like, we're trying to like just streamline this whole, like cannabis chimp, animal,
right. And that's where I think Schedule 3 is really going to do that. But, we have a new Congress starting next week or the week thereafter, early January. I just find it hard to believe because then you get to like, who shut down safe banking? Oh, the Senate leadership? You got to be freaking kidding me. Who? Oh, you mean Chuck Schumer can't get Mitch McConnell to understand that we have an industry here. But I thought Mitch McConnell was a fan of hemp. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just all silly. And if you did buy the MSOS or cannabis stocks last year, guess who has 50% less money? The shareholders. So that sucks.
Mm.
So like you quadrupled on Reddit. People that were holding the cannabis stocks lost half their money.
I mean, it's all gambling, right? Like the people who buy cannabis
Eh,
stocks are the same guys who are buying crypto and NFTs.
right.
By the way, I have one 42069 noise on Pump Fund.
Oh, so you created one of those like fake coins?
I made a shit coin, dude. I made a shit
Oh
token.
my
I'm just
God.
like,
Oh, we could actually hype shit coins on the show. I
we
don't think,
could.
well, I think we can. Maybe we
This is
can't.
not financial advice or
This
medical.
is
Thank you.
clearly not financial advice nor medical advice. And then we get in trouble on the show if we violate the terms of service of YouTube. It it makes me think that there's probably some types of terms of service for YouTube for like crypto. I could be wrong, but probably not.
We're strictly education, though. I think that's part of the thing too when it comes to like we're the algorithm and how we are always like our page that we've had for 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Like the fact that I've been approaching that page as more of a just communal like entertainment, trying to like give the memes and education wise, and then I'm
Here for
trying
the
to help your
lulls.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah, here for the lulls.
marketing. Right.
I think that's but it's my personal experiment, right? Like we're like I don't have anything to come out of it. Like I'm just trying to learn from it, and the algorithm doesn't is there. If you're there for the laws, it's cool. But if you're trying to make some money and do some business, we
Yeah.
gotta talk. you know,
Right. Right. Yeah. I tell you that brings us to our second story.
yeah,
That one was out of the Guardian, and so uncertainty looms over the United States cannabis industry amidst political shifts. So they don't know what's going to happen as 2024 concludes. The cannabis industry faces significant uncertainty due to unfulfilled federal reforms and the impending Trump administration. Remember, it is an impending Trump administration until it is the pending Trump administration, which happens on around January 20th.
hmm
And so, yeah, scheduled 1 to 3, taken forever. It was the first year since 2017 without any state legalizing recreational cannabis. Because I think Ohio did, but I think theirs became effective. Like they had legalized it earlier, and then it became effective.
yeah, yeah. You're right. But also, in that Bazinga, article, it did mention 3 states where Nebraska did approve legalization of medical. Uh, Florida had it on the ballot, but you had that stupid over 60% of the population that put on the same page. And then there was another state that, each one's still making progress forward, but we're not there all the way, right? Like, I don't think federally, dude. Uh, we saw how this administration works already. So they're going to have the
Oh,
House and Senate. So there's no excuses, right, for any sort of like shaking things up and breaking the
right.
making
Well,
America.
and it's going to depend on who his attorney general is, but they already
Yeah.
rescinded the Cole memo. They revoked that in the last Trump
hmm
administration. They didn't put it back in the Biden administration. There's
Yeah.
no other memo that's out there, like the Garland memo, because they named it, I thought, after one of the attorney generals or somebody in the Justice Department. There's nobody that really seems to care. And then we were talking before the podcast about IRC 280E and how that might impact our dispensary as we get it open next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like C Corps and all that other good, sexy stuff. Uh, Hopefully it's at a low point. This is the the bottom, but things can usually go lower. That's one of the things. Yeah.
No, I agree. But when I talked about you following the MSO shit, in regards to like just cannabis overall, how it used to be from you get it from a guy, now the eventual of the MSOs, right? Like I know your vision. This is the whole point of business. Is you don't create a restaurant so you go to the same restaurant. You don't want to be the manager of the restaurant. You want to manage several restaurants. That way they're working for you. You know, when I think of people like doing the trap game or whatever you want to call it, selling in the illicit market, the
Mhm.
whole point is you want to have people below you. You want to be
Yeah.
fucking Al Capone. You don't
Well,
want to be.
there's that, but you also don't want books and records, and so like you don't want any evidence when you're doing it illicitly.
Yeah, yeah.
And some businesses don't keep the best records, to be honest, and so that is annoying, but it's a fact. And so the headline on this, who knows what they're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
U.S. cannabis industries brace for Trump administration. A real uplifting story out of the Guardian.
I mean, that just reflects though the administration itself, right? Like the leadership. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope we have a great pilot and we land safely in the end of 4 years, and everybody goes hooray.
Well, they interviewed Alex Halperin, who has a Weed Week newsletter, and he's been doing that since 2015. It's Weed Week, if you guys are trying to find that out. It's weedweek.com, probably a play on Newsweek. And he has some quotes. The big issue is rescheduling. There's a lot of excitement about that, but it's been sort of mired down. Yeah, it has been. Now, of course, we have the new administration, and who knows what they're going to do.
Well, there's like the guy that was on the Dell report, or not the Dell report, some other
Dales.
or Dale's. I don't know.
Chad
Anyways,
Dales. Yeah.
yeah, you know the people's. But there's a gentleman on the administration. I think he's going to be the health, uh, the guy. So like, he was saying like possibly, we don't fucking know. Just
Right.
that's it.
Right.
In the end.
Hey, tune in for next week's episode. We'll do a deep dive as to speculation on what Trump will do, mostly as a clickbait title. So you tune in. Hang on. See, this is where I wish we had like one of those sound effects. And then just remind everybody, thank you for subscribing and for tuning in. We're going over the news of the week. There's a holiday week, though. Isn't that big? We do have that, which is nice. Let's see, we have some international news, uplifting international news out of Germany. And so nearly 60% of Germans support full cannabis legalization ahead of upcoming elections. A recent poll by the German Hemp Association revealed that 59%, 59% of Germans favor full legalization of recreational cannabis. The public support comes ahead of upcoming elections and indicating potential shift in Germany's cannabis policies. Let's hope so. That was out of Forbes. That I think that was the paywall gated one, right? Nope, it's open. Okay, great.
That's open. But again, you just Google
Forbes,
Germany.
just Google Germany, or tune into our newsletter. If you haven't gone to our newsletter yet, you should get our newsletter. You can go over to cannabislegalizationnews.com. And there's a pop-up that you'll see, and there's a place that you could put in your name and email address. That fires off right when we do this podcast, and it covers all the stories that we talk about and has links out to them. So if you want to read them, get our newsletter.
Hell yeah. I mean, we try to be up to date. Hell, Tom caught me this morning on what I thought I found in Texas, and it turned out to be from 2016. Sometimes the algorithm just throws you shit, and you're like surprised, and you're like, oh, never mind. My bad.
That algorithm, and then not only that, like sometimes things that are old to get into Google News, but I just kind of assumed that's what had happened to you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But we have some new news from Normal. Analysis over 3,500 scientific papers published about cannabis during the past decade. So do we need more studies?
They found those studies. They finally found the studies. All 35,000 of them.
Over.
And then, and so like found the studies, and that's just in the past 10 years. So like if you divide the 35,000 by 10, it's 3,500 studies a year.
You're right, though. That's only the past 10 years, right? Like cannabis, THC was discovered in what, 1948?
64.
64?
64, yeah. I think it was
CBD was found before.
It might have been. CBD was found before, and I studied before. That was in the 40s, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So shit, that's 70, 80 years, right? Like of like knowledge that we've been trying to do things, but yeah, this is only 10-year reflection. Crazy.
Yeah, I remember. And then if to next year you think that it's going to be the year that it gets legalized. Pineapple Express came out in 2008.
Man,
remember that?
I can't believe
we got some quotes from Paul Armentano, the Normal deputy director, and he says, despite the perception that marijuana has yet to be subject to adequate scrutiny, scientists' interest in studying cannabis has increasingly exponentially in the past decade. So a lot more people are studying it, which is great. And Schedule 3 will allow those studies to go even further because as it's a Schedule 1 substance, you're not allowed to find any benefit. There's no scientific studies into the benefits of the cannabis plant.
But again, schedule.
Just confirm the harm. That's annoying. Like they're looking for the problem and they're telling the scientists what it has to say before they allow them to do the science.
Sure, right. They're trying to create the outcome of the story, right? Like, oh, it's that time. Oh
Hey,
yes.
it's 20 past the hour. So smoke them if you got them. We'll be back after this short break from Collateral Base.
422 is 422. Thank you. Be here all night.
That is a good one. And I didn't even need that vape pen to enjoy that dad joke that you just laid on us. That 422 is 422. And also, did you know the price of a 1 gram vape in Michigan? Because the family's in Michigan, so we visited them for the holiday and had a wonderful time in Detroit. Stopped off at a store, and for $100, you can get 3 1 gram vape carts, 2/8, and two things of edibles. With each has 200 milligrams of edibles.
Yeah.
For $95.
Wow.
Yeah. This vape was 3 for $25. Just like the prices in Michigan are ridiculous.
That's another thing about the markets. I think that we or people who are in the money, who cry that the money's not coming back in or whatever, right? Like the whole market nationally is stabilizing, right? Like Canada had a chance to everybody gets to do it at once. We're doing this incremental, and again, we're gonna make our employees apologize for every $80 eighth. Like just, hey, I'm sorry, man. It's what it is. Like just, and of course you're gonna have a guy sitting on the couch and he'll tell you a story for 20 minutes. Go ahead.
You should tune in. So we got one of the comments saying THC is not going anywhere anytime soon. Like that did happen a lot in 2024. It was shut down in a lot more places, and so 2025 is probably going to see it shut down in Illinois, and then also in I think it's going to get shut down in Tennessee because they got that restraining order injunction. I think that's one of our. Oh, I didn't include that in the notes.
No, but that's
too bad.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can just talk about that now. The judge on Christmas Eve basically issued a 10-page opinion. There was a math error in it, which, that's not really the judge's fault, in my opinion. She misstated how large the market was by an order of magnitude. She meant to say million. She said billion. At least it was also billions in the numbers too, but whatever. And so they say that the intoxicating hemp market in Tennessee is already like $300 million. And the $300 million, that's a lot of money. And they're all selling, weed, specifically THCA. And so they're trying to shut down the change in the hemp regulations to get rid of it. And, you're talking, because THCA is a precursor chemical of Delta 9 THC. What? But they've only put Delta 9 in the Farm Bill. But then they also put total THC in the testing of the Farm Bill as well. It's going to be really, really interesting to read that opinion that she'll hand down in February, and we'll just kind of go from there. And then Texas looks like they're really serious about shutting it down too.
Sure.
Now, somebody asked in the comments, like, how do you get real medical cannabis in Texas? Because they just have what they call the CUP program, the compassionate use program. The way you get real medical cannabis in Texas is Schedule 3, because Texas is a trigger law state. So after 30 days, Texas will realign and move marijuana over to Schedule 3. And then you could, petition your lawmakers to turn all those 8,000 hemp shops into medical dispensaries.
And that's only if rescheduling happens, right? Like
that's only if rescheduling happens, right?
But back to the THC Delta 9 like going away thing. Of course, it's not going away. It's a component of cannabis, right? It's a component of the end desire.
The loophole, like where it's like the marijuana typically contains the precursor. And then when you take it and spark it up or like leave it, there's degradation that happens to it, and it loses about 13% of its weight. So that's why when you do your total THC math calculations, it's the 0.877. either way, the regulators and the legislatures all know what's going on now, and
Mm-hmm.
so that prejudice is coming back. It's like just calling this stuff hemp and thinking that 80, 90, 100 plus years of political prejudice would magically go away. It's like, oh, let's work on some rebranding here. Abortion bad, unpregnancy good, and
Well,
it's not going to change the issue.
no, I agree, but the thing too about this hemp conversation, which I find annoying as someone who used to sell whatever was given to me. Right, I didn't know if it was hemp or marijuana. I just was weed. Right, like
Mhm.
I bought quarter pounds and then I smoked it and it was good, and then I would sell it to other people because I knew it was good because I was smoking it. But the problem with like regulation and testing and the present law and the loophole bullshit is the consumer is still losing out, right? Because you're still not protected. There's no legal protections for your employment, and you're
Right.
not going to get that.
It's
And
entrapment, because like think about it. Like you're selling THCA pre-rolls at a gas station. Somebody is going to buy that and then smoke it and get arrested and then sue the gas stations. Like you sold me something. Yeah, but then you smoked it. Of course I smoked it. It was a pre-roll.
yeah, but
You
one of
said need a
the
lighter, and I bought a lighter from you too, Jesus.
but we
But
have examples
yeah.
for all these things that already are like part of the debate, right? Like we have a whole state, or I mean country first, for like national legalization and how it affects the populace, but also my state, Washington State. I told you I drove around the other day because I'm just digging into this hemp thing because I never really cared about it before, right? Like
Right.
Jack Hare and everybody, yes, they hemp hooray.
It
Hemp is a
was
path.
it was everything that was not marijuana. It was the
Yeah,
cannabis, all the cannabis plant, like, and so Jack Hare with his boat. Here's some hemp, and here's some hemp, and here's some hemp here in the sails, the ropes, and the paint. Like that was hemp.
well, even like the grower I met in California, at MJ Biz, who showed me this beautiful acreage of just weed for the most part, right? I'm just going to say weed because people get confused when you say hemp, cannabis, same plant, it's just weed. And I wouldn't mind if I smoked his weed and it was good, and I would be like, okay, yo, this is where everybody goes and orders this guy's shit. I'm not going to encourage like a whole fucking market where I don't know sourcing. Right here in Washington State, I couldn't find any Delta 9. The only thing I found was like in some gas station stuff was like some jelly stuff, like the sex stuff, right? Whoever's buying these boner pills is going to buy the fucking CBD, or it wasn't CBD, it was the Delta 9. But there was
Mhm.
no flour. Unlike your store in your state
You
where,
guys shut it down. Yeah.
well, we didn't shut it down though. The consumer goes buys weed at the weed shop. Like
No, it's
that's
regulated. Like the Liquor Control Board, because you are one of the 11 states where it's not legal, and so they've
well,
shut it down. And that's one of the reasons why it's not there as much. But yeah, like if you want to be a drug dealer in Illinois, you just open up a smoke shop, and then you bring in all the hemp that you can get high off of. You bring in whippets, you bring in kratom, you bring in mushrooms.
well, that's what I'm trying to is like we didn't really shut it down though. In 2020, that's when it really was like identified as an issue, but we've been legal since 2012, right? So like what happened was in Washington State, there was somebody that said, "Hey, I can go buy hemp over here in Kentucky, turn this into 100 pounds of extract," and they were putting it into our legal recreational market, right? So it was non seed to sell. It was non
Right.
inventory, and then when people realized this was happening, that's where the actual rule came out about hemp being still. So there was a rule came out after this whole debate about like everything in the hemp that's going to be in the legal market has to be registered, right? Like we didn't do any of that shit until 2012, 2010, or I mean 2020. Sorry, so 8 years of legalization. Hemp was never, because the consumer here has fucking weed. We just go to the
That's right.
store and buy weed.
Good
Nobody's trying
prices
to,
too.
yeah,
You know,
and good quality.
and good quality. Yeah. Good quality as well. That's the thing. Illinois needs more growers, more processors. The retail locations, those are always going to be limited because, like, just like a liquor license for a bar, just because you want to open a bar doesn't mean you're going to get that license. Like, you have to go before the board and get approved. And so they could say no. And so that's the same thing with ours. Like we still have like
We got a lot
we're in
there.
underwriting, and so like hopefully we get out of underwriting soon. We get approved for a loan, got a budget for our construction, and we put the offer in on the building, and then we have a floor plan already. It's not the one that the state needs, but it's also not the one that the zoning board needs because we have to give that floor plan to the zoning board to get it approved for the special use permit. Maybe that's the way to put these smoke shops out of business or like to prevent them from being drug dealers is that you have to get a special use permit for a smoke shop.
Yeah.
And they let me see your business plan. Let me see your floor plan. Okay. And then you have to go to the city council and like, what are you going to do, sir? I'm going to be selling whippets and I'm going to be selling weed and calling it hemp. And I'm going to be selling mushrooms. I'm going to be selling cigarettes. Denied. Yeah.
And this is only in Illinois, though. This is where everybody, when we talk about that issue that you bring up, is only in Illinois, right? Like we don't even have lounges here.
No,
You know?
like it's in every state that hasn't regulated it. It's especially in the red states. And so those red states, that's why it's all it's in Texas. And so I'm gonna and I'm gonna make sure that you do too. We'll start emailing all of the reps in our BLS region
Okay.
regarding this issue because they're coming back for the lame duck session before the 7th to hopefully vote on regulating hemp so that you just.
Oh shit, dude! Jimmy Carter did.
I know. I didn't want to. I didn't want to like bring everybody's.
Wow, that's breaking.
You know why? He couldn't take another 4 years of the Trump administration, or he was 100 years old. It's probably the latter. It's probably the latter. Yeah.
Jesus, but I mean, maybe just so tired of bullshit.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm more tired now than when I was, even 10 years ago. I have no idea how tired I will be when I'm 100. Granted, that's decades in the future. I have no idea what type of like AI cyborg I will be. So maybe age will become really irrelevant. We'll find out in the future. One thing that somebody else found out was that a search of marijuana grow operations finds stolen tractors, trailers, and firearms. This is out of the Cottage Grove Sentinel in Oregon. I think you found this story, didn't you, Miggy?
Yeah, the reason why I pulled it out is for one, Oregon's a legal state, right? Like there's if you play by the rules, you get left alone, right? That's the whole point of legalization. Like I personally think this is like hopefully, this guy's not doing time, gets fined a lot. I mean, the gun thing, I don't know, but like it's just weed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but it's a months-long investigation that began with a traffic stop in Illinois. Oops. And so, even though Illinois is a quote unquote legal state, you can still go over the lines and it's not legal if you go past what you're allowed to have, and they clearly went past what they were allowed to have. Oh, I thought you were going to keep that on the screen. That's why I'll just do that. Okay. And so
we miss you, Will. We miss you.
Yep, we missed the producer behind the scenes. Oh, yeah, some Sergeant Wallace, Tim Wallace, that is. He's got some. It was an investigation in Illinois that turned up 242 pounds of marijuana. That is over your possession limits in the state of Illinois.
That was another thing that I wanted. Why I shared the story is because this happened in one state. And then they made the arrest in another state. This should have been a federal crime, right? But it's not a federal crime. This is a state violation.
All of the arrests typically and the enforcement typically happens at the state level. So the vast majority of enforcement for laws is at the state level for crime. And then again, like I went to law school, I had to take criminal law. That is the extent of my criminal law practice experience. I became a bank lawyer, corporate lawyer. And so, but Sergeant Wallace said it was determined marijuana was being illegally diverted out of state. During the execution of the warrant, over 2,000 pounds of marijuana was found on the premises. About half of the marijuana was being illegally secreted in the residence of the property, which was not part of the licensed area where marijuana could be kept. You see, this is what happens like in states like Oregon and Michigan, because the interstate market's the interstate market. And so there's arbitrage opportunities all over the place. Because the price in Idaho is going to be higher than the price in Oregon, or the price in Illinois is higher than the price in Oregon. So, these guys were probably moving it over to Illinois and then selling it as THCA flower.
Oh well, uh, they just got caught. There, you don't see anything about like I pulled the COA out, but just the fact that Illinois calls up OLCC, the fun police in Oregon, and then
Mhm.
Oregon decides to do a research, and it wasn't the sheriff's department, right? It is the enforcement of that.
Well, the sheriff's department was assisted by the Drug
There
Enforcement
you
Administration, so the DEA got involved,
go. Okay,
and the OLCC, and so the DEA is still doing raids. It looks like, and then this was not have been possible without an ongoing grant funding from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission's illegal marijuana market grant.
damn.
The grant was created in 2018 by Oregon legislature to assist local law enforcement agencies and the DA's office in their efforts to address the illegal marijuana market in Oregon. They found lots of weed and unfortunately also guns, and that's probably what's going to get them the bad charges. And they could get
Oh
federal
yeah,
charges. I have no idea what's going to happen. They've been arrested. They haven't been charged, it says.
dude, they got a whole ass grant just to force fucking illegal grows. That's
I know, and that's one of the reasons why, like, it just boggles my mind that people think that hemp and THCA is going to be like it's in the Constitution or something. It's not. It's in the Farm
mm,
Bill. They changed the definition twice. They've drafted an updated definition change again in both the House and in the Senate. They just couldn't agree on how much SNAP benefits to give. And so then when the next administration comes up and it's Republicans and Republicans, they're going to be like, cut the food stamps. Okay, passed. And
yeah.
so it's coming. Yeah.
I thought pursuit of happiness was part of the Constitution.
Uh, no, I don't believe the pursuit of happiness is a part of the Constitution, to be honest. I think the pursuit of happiness clause appears in the Declaration of Independence.
Ah,
I
there
could
you
be
go.
wrong. Let's ask the AI to
It's in
fact check that
paperwork.
for me. Yeah,
That's
it's in the
okay.
paperwork.
Just making shit up.
Right.
We got some Missouri news.
Okay, let's do Missouri, and then we'll play some Name That Strain.
Oh
Missouri
yeah.
is an interesting news, and we've had viewers that have won cannabis dispensary licenses in Missouri, and they'll be operational within the compliance of their deadlines, which is like next July the 26th. This is the microbusiness aspect of Missouri. Microbusiness
Yes.
should one day be nice, but for right now, it's a supply issue. So it doesn't make any sense getting your dispensary open if you can't buy any product from somebody. So that product is currently being grown, and then they have to get those growers up and operational first. And then after that, you can, because like for us to get our dispensary open, I had a quick quote from somebody who's built them before. He thinks it's going to be about $400,000 to $450,000 and take 12 weeks.
Damn.
But 12 weeks, that's not that long. And
No,
so
it's
like,
not.
for a grow, it takes longer to build that because they're more complex. It's not just, a room with a safe and some POS, areas and a break room and, all that kind of stuff. And like tech room, because we have to do all the compliance with the video surveillance and the backups of that.
Yeah.
All the things that you find in a smoke shop. And so that is the same in Missouri for these micro businesses, but they haven't gotten them out enough. And then some of them have been revoked. So much so, like how many did they say how many have been revoked before? Oh man, it's quite a few. I want to say like dozens of them that they've given out have been revoked. So they may do another round of these licenses, and they're trying to stop like the same thing that's going on. I got myself sued this year because I was trying to unfurl one of these types of lottery hacks that cross a line, and then it's not the person's license who's applying; it's the person
Yeah.
who's not disclosing. It's
Exactly.
their license, and there's contracts involved that buy the license for 90 cents. For 10 cents on the dollar. And so, like, and that 10 cents on the dollar would be even more egregious if hemp hadn't completely eviscerated the value of Illinois cannabis licenses. But still, that's the crazy world of licensed cannabis. There's greed, and then there's chicanery,
Yeah.
which this hacking is similar to what the hemp industry does by saying that it's legal, and so you see it in both places. But hopefully what happens is these qualified individuals, maybe you'll win in the next lottery. They've made the lottery more expensive. They've made the refund process a little bit more tricky, and now we have to do complete disclosures of all the contracts pre-application. And so if there are these undisclosed contracts that are out there. They're not enforceable,
Oh,
and they only jeopardize the chance of the regulator finding out and revoking your license.
the thing about legalization that I don't think people take into consideration or think about pretty much, uh, is like, why do you want legalization? What are you trying to achieve, right? Like, I want this parity for like everybody, and with that, like your lawsuit, that's bullshit. Like this, like the whole point of like creating this legalization is a path for people to do business, right? But
Mhm.
most people also the path for people just to be consumers, right? Just to be able to like smoke their weed, fucking go to work and call it a day and not get fucked with. Like that's and then also the guy, but no one cares about how their cheeseburger's made. They just want to go
Oh,
to
I
the
do.
drive-through, pick up.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't
I
want
mean,
no
like,
bullshit. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of people don't. That you're right, and that's too bad. But that's the industry that we have. I mean, like we have these unregulated places or these open marketplaces where then you get crime, like in Oregon in the last story, slipping into higher market
mhm.
states like Illinois, where there's not enough of these retail locations open, and there's not enough of the growers that have come online. And so like that's why I think we do need like a very small license in Illinois that's just unlimited, like a unlimited micro grower license where like it's just 100 plants or 200 plants tops. And then that's, if you could sell that out and you're making some money on it, maybe figure out a way to move up a notch. But you know
This is why federal legalization is so fucking important. Like any rescheduling, any movement that happens for everybody at all, right? Every state's going to be like on the same page automatically. But the people already in legal states kind of
mhm.
got an advantage, right? Because people in prohibition states, if they want to get on board, right, this is cost money when it comes to like the product, growing it. It's an agricultural product. It's something that you hope you create a good 6 months of your time, 3 months, right? Before legalization, no one really thought about the business side when it comes to like the rotation of the crops and everything. It was always about just some dude growing a couple plants in the closet and then flipping it. But now, like, what is it? 3 month rotation is like the bare minimum now they want. Or I think I've
No,
heard,
it's a flowering cycle. The flowering
yeah,
cycle's typically, I mean, if you could like genetics, like I've seen flowering go as fast as 6 weeks. I don't know if
mm,
that's in production genetics though, but typically it's 9 week flowering. And then the veg process, and so like the Missouri microbusiness license is what we're talking about right now.
yeah,
Their wholesale license is a producer processor. And so the producer processor out there, it is 250 plants. And so that 250 plants is only the plants that you have in flower. So then the strategy on that is to make some monsters. And so to make monsters, you need to veg them out forever. And so as you're vegging them out, they get bigger and bigger. And so that plant, by the time it's harvested and picked after its 9 week flowering cycle, might be 8 months old. But then, like, you have these big veg rooms because you're vegging them. So they almost all look like moms. And
yeah,
then you flower them so that because you're constrained. And so, like, if there's two different ways. And so, like, we have canopy constraints. Other states have plant count constraints. This is a plant count constraint one.
yeah,
But yeah.
and
And then
hopefully it's good.
and it costs. And it costs that money to get that thing built. And then off after that. So, like, the expenses for a dispensary for us, like, we get it built, stock the shelves, have a soft open for a month, work
Yeah,
out the kinks. For a grower, you get it built, now you're really in the hawk because that's expensive to get one of those things built, millions, and then
yeah.
you have to now pay salaries for months.
To hopefully turn a profit. That's the
Right.
we are fortunate enough to be on the store side of things. I think the farmer side of things is always getting screwed in this legalization process, this issue, right? Like I think the only winner in the hemp legalization of the loophole is the farmer, but hopefully they're not being shafted by deals too. That was I was trying to get
They're
back with like
completely
legalization.
shafted.
Yeah,
Like prior to 2020, when they figured out how to make Delta 8 in a lab, it's not like if the plant makes it. So when they figured out how to make Delta 8 in the lab, that may have finally started to help the price. And so now, because like you could check the acreage, and so like the acreage of hemp that has been grown collapsed over the past 5 years, but now, like, of course it's gone up in value. But how much of that THCA flower is being grown on a real license? No idea. No
yeah.
idea.
that's where I think the argument too with the legalization for the hemp side of things is, it's a farmer who's probably still at risk, but every above the chain, above after the farmer is more at risk. The guy transporting it, the store
Mhm.
running something, the gas station, whatever. And that market's closing as each day comes by and closes, like Texas is doing in
All right.
Dakotas.
We should
But
talk a
yeah,
little bit about this guy's question.
yeah,
Weed and guns, and so that's one of the problems with those guys in Oregon that got popped for those hundreds of plants or hundreds of pounds that they had. They also had illegal firearms, and they had them together, and so that's an even worse crime under federal law. And so, there's a line of cases though that have been coming out over the past year, federal cases that recognize a marijuana user's right to have a gun. And
yeah,
so you just don't have the right to, like, just similar with alcohol. Like, if you go to a saloon back in the old timey West, you have to check your guns at the door because you're not allowed to have your gun and your whiskey together. And so that was the same type of holding that came out earlier this year. And hopefully in states like Tennessee, well, not Tennessee, states like Kentucky, those types of cases in the NRA, blissfully has not done anything to
ever,
like help marijuana gun owners' rights. But
yeah,
very often there are cases. This one, it was an arrest. And so like a defense attorney had to raise these issues. And that's great because defense attorneys very often work into the Constitution, where, I was a mortgage foreclosure and a banking lawyer, and those are like in derogation of common law, which, is uh, so you have to
absolutely,
follow like all they did not exist in common law or equity. We're a common law jurisdiction, the United States, except for Louisiana. It's weird.
hmm,
And as a result, like when you have a statute that's not that's like creates rights and things that are unknown at common law, you have to follow that statute for your contracts and your jurisdiction to attach. So
right.
it's in special statutory jurisdiction, they call it.
Hmm. But I mean, the government thing, rescheduling it will help, right? Like that's we need federal rules to protect you. Like
Correct.
there's no existence of a protection. There's no. I just did an interview, and that's the other thing too. Law enforcement likes to post like whenever there's an arrest, and you happen to have a gun because I thought America was pro-gun, but yeah, if you're caught with guns while transporting cannabis or any form of it, Delta 9, whatever, hemp, you're a bad guy. I just did an interview with this gentleman Cortez Curry, who in Georgia though, uh, the sheriff's department posted the guns that he owns legally and all this hemp product, all this like mids, like that Donald Trump weed. He knows
Right.
shit is a vendor from them and some other hemp company, and there was all
Donald
that in the
Trump weed.
guns.
I
Yeah.
I still would have done that video because it was like 2023, and it's been viewed like 900,000 times. And then that guy does maybe he emailed me because like I don't take like hemp clients,
Mhm.
and I don't take a lot of the clients that ask, but well, this guy, he just takes my video, slaps it on his website, slaps
Yeah.
Donald Trump's name all over his product. And
Yeah.
so, like, if I was Donald Trump, I'd come in and be like, "Hey, you're using my likeness,"
Yeah. But
But let's do some
yeah.
name that strain.
Oh, there you
These are
go.
strains that you will not find at trumpweed.com or whatever the name of that was. It called donaldtrumpweed.com? We'll find that out. Let's hit the bumper. I don't know why that stayed on, but yes, it is literally donaldtrumpweed.com. Hopefully they've taken down my video. No, still there. The wonderful thing that he did was he condensed it into 10 minutes, and then he has like his own Vimeo account. And so it's like Donald Trump made weed legal, explained by me, which
Yeah.
just silly,
And
just
again,
silly.
we are not
How
legal.
much weed have I helped sell and not gotten paid for it?
Yeah, well, but we are not legal or financial advice. But look at this beautiful nuggie over
That's
here.
right.
There you go. And fucking frosty nuggie. Ooh.
Oh, yep, that's a good hint. I don't have its
Oh,
stuff
fucking
up
Chris
for
got
like
it, dude.
Leafly. Oh, there we go.
Dude, I didn't even fucking have to
Yeah,
like.
it's our Winter Wonderland strain. Let's
Yes.
hit that.
Frosty Bush number 4, an ancestral hybrid born from the cross of Herbaria, Bushman, South Africa, F2, and Frosty Pilgrim, a union of African and Massachusetts genetics. Okay, I'm done. I've been interested. I never thought I'd ever say a sentence like that. Africa and Massachusetts, like not without slavery being involved. I'm just saying.
Yep, now that's slavery being involved.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see here. We have a bummer of the news here. And this one, you see
Mm.
this story out all the time. It's from Psychology Today. They had a blog post that came out on December 27th, titled this. Let me see if you can notice the editorial comment on just the title's name. Cannabis is harming our youth. The truth about cannabis's dangerous effects on the brain.
So this one was a pretty big study. High and Nine actually. They have like some actual. Even though we had more viewers, they had some PhD people on there. That
Oh,
talk
cool.
about this. Yeah. So like I listened to the nerds talk, and the guy was actually making a point. Whereas, and I forget who spoke about it, but he's a doctor of some sorts. But you gotta like
Dr.
admit,
Deepak Cyril D'Souza. He's a professor of psychiatry at Yale Medical School and a leading expert in cannabis. Quoted to say, the marijuana and cannabis products of your generation may have been very different from what's out there now, especially all those people with the THCP vapes.
oh yeah, dude. I mean, dude, the studies still are. They don't define what cannabis use disorder is. Like, what the fuck is it? Is it like when you're so fed up with bullshit all the time of like
But
the.
it's pretty much any use, I think, because it's a Schedule One substance. And so because it's a Schedule One substance, any use is abuse.
That's what I'm saying, though. This is part of that 40,000 studies in 10 years, right? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
What's the disorder? Like,
They define it.
I get CHS maybe perhaps might be a thing, but that's also I blame chemicals being used in the plant, not just the plant, right?
I don't know. Perhaps it's the chemicals. Perhaps CHS is a real thing. Probably is.
Right.
But
I'm just talking.
let's see. We get to get the summary. THC levels have skyrocketed from below 2% in the 1980s to between 17 and 28% in 2017, with some products containing up to 90% THC. I can't wait till this guy finds out about the hemp industry. It's going to blow his mind.
That's the thing too is like culture connoisseurs, consumers have existed, in a black area in a time where you don't admit. I'm not gonna admit a crime. Fucking dumb. It's fucking America. That could be used against me. Like
That's
no.
Right. That's right.
Go for it.
It's just you see that article. That article comes out all the time. Like the stigma and the bias is still there, and that's the other thing. Like we shouldn't pretend like it's not a drug. And so that's the other thing with the hemp industry. Like I understand how like hemp hearts that I still have to buy from Lithuania at Costco because they don't make them in America for some reason. Those are not a drug. I am eating them for their protein content and their nice amino acid profile. I'm not taking it to get a desired effect or outcome like you would marijuana or cannabis,
Sure.
or hemp. And so like most of the hemp that's being sold is being sold as if it is or for its drug purposes, not for its fiber or for its fuel or for its food.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's probably like we've most people are ignorant to plant science health, right? Like this plant is both protein, like you said, or it can absorb toxics in the soil. Like if people hear about all this amazing shit and then they go, well, if it was so good, why would it be illegal? Because government wouldn't want to hurt you, right? Like that's shut the fuck up. Like hey,
Yep.
I mean, speaking of dude, because like you talk about the Reefer Madness, dude, Squid Game. I shared that one little article that we had.
You can pull
Just
that one up.
more of a
There you
funner story than I mean, I just
go.
far as like,
Share this in the comments. Don't buy weed from this guy.
oh no,
Yeah.
why would you share the link though? Yeah,
Because
I mean,
just so they see it, like he's blatantly using the president's likeness
that too.
to peddle his stuff.
I mean, like the guy's begging for a lawsuit. Anybody who does that shit's begging for a lawsuit. Like, period.
Yeah. Like, well, I guess I could send him a cease and desist, but like, at least my people may be finding out about the channel because of that website, so it's not the worst thing.
Oh, but I mean, I guess, but like, that's not big. Let me see if I can make it big for you guys. Anyways, I just think it's like we're talking about prohibition and the reefer madness type of thing. This guy couldn't act in South Korea. He's in the new Squid Game, and because a marijuana scandal, he smoked weed. Like there was no like hustling pounds or
it was just use. And so when I was in Korea, teaching English when I was like 24, we'd have to do knife hits because we could just get hash. And then, so God knows what was in that. And then there just wasn't that much. That's an alcohol culture over in Korea. However, like every now and then you would hear a story about one of the teachers getting deported.
Oh, fuck.
Because they got caught smoking hash. And so like, if you got caught with weed, you were gone.
Yeah, no, well, even if you smoke out of, like, if you're Korean and you're out of country, like posting like Instagram poked a bong, you think you're suppressed. I mean, like, there's a lot of fucked up shit here, but like, just for this plant, it's still, that was what the stigma was used to be back in the day, though, here, right? That was, look at South Korea now, that's America in 1990, right?
Yeah.
With cannabis.
Not with technology, though. Wonderful engineers. We have Kias in our family, and Samsung does great things. I can't remember what Samsung started with. I think it made like boats or galoshes or something. It's cable is what they call them. They're like massive conglomerates. It's what I hope that our corporation becomes, because this industry we have to diversify out of. I mean, let's be honest. Well, hey, year in review time. Let's do a year in review. Green market report. I should probably say, because like I have an account for them, and so let me log in, because otherwise this would be paywalled. Crap. Let me try that again. My fingerprints wasn't enough. I actually have to enter my password, and I have to enter it correctly. One more time. Sweet. It's always when you're live. That's when it happens. Let's see here. Can I share my screen?
Let people know.
Yeah, it does. It does. Share screen, window, this one, boom. And add to the stage. Add to the stage. Take that off.
Nice.
Year in review, top 10 stories from the Green Market Report. They've sold themselves to Crane family brand, Crane Business Magazine. I support the Green Market Report, and I'm glad that they were able to make an exit. But now all their stuff's paywalled, and so like Crane's Business is another paywalled, journalist site. I'm thinking about subscribing to The Information. It's another paywalled site. But there we go. Here's a story: get paid $70,000 to smoke marijuana as a job. Billed as the ultimate stoner dream job, Custom Cones put out a call for content creators, writers, and videographers and social media gurus to smoke the test products and be part of the best cannabis industry events and share those experiences with the world. Based on the response to the story, we're guessing the company's inbox was flooded with interested applicants. Mickey, that would have been a great job for you. You would have to take a pay cut, though.
Yeah, but since they say $70K in California, dude, that's a closet.
Yeah, that's right. $70K here, like that's more than I pay myself, but I live in Peoria, Illinois. Georgia, $150 million class action lawsuit accusing Stizzy Cookies and others of selling marijuana as hemp. Wonder where that lawsuit's gone, because that came out a while ago. And so,
well, I was just thinking about it with that interview that I had with Cortez, right? So he's going through this arrest issue in Georgia. And I was like, well, they really shouldn't be going after you. They should be going after Trump weed and the other source, right? Like, that's the RICO shit.
Yeah.
But what did it say? Did it say it's still run pending then, or?
No updates. So there's no hearings yet scheduled. I have
Uh,
Pacer, so I can like with this data right here, I can log
oh,
into the federal government system and pull the case file and see.
oh yeah,
I've just been busy, and then like this past week, I literally took the whole week off. It was fantastic. I had a filing on Christmas Eve, but that was it. And so here it is: four cannabis edible brands have 18% of the United States market. And so that's one of the nice things. Like everybody's like, "Oh, MSOs, they suck. You shouldn't have MSOs." And that's also not there. We go. And so I one of the nice things about it not being a state by state basis is like all the brands that I saw in Michigan, they aren't here. All the brands that I see when I go to Washington State, they aren't here. So this local aspect of it
yeah,
is obvious. And so like you might not know this, but if you had chicken today, there is probably one of five companies that made it. There you go.
yeah.
And so nobody talks about the big chicken monopoly.
Or the two stores franchises, right? That's the supply chain, or two or four. But back to this. What was the dominance? Because at MJ Biz, we saw that. I saw that lady talking from Wild. Like I'm very interested. You know, people want to make a business, and then after you make the business, you want to like just get that bag and go away, right? Like that's why I'm always hesitant about like making a fake Miggy weed. Like I'm Miggy. I'm not gonna fucking like. I don't want to make a life
I'm not
thing.
Donald Trump. I'm not going to just slap my name on everything.
I'm not famous Amos,
That's
but
why I
like
made the company called Howard Company.
yeah, but like
I'm kidding.
that's why these people are good. They perfect a way to do things, an operation. Because listening to that woman talk, she's like, "Look, I beat most people because we buy bulk, and that's
That's right.
kind of like same thing with like grows though, right? Like
Right.
grows can buy bulk flour or grow compost and shit, and the things that make water or that make the plant. But that's all business. If you can buy in bulk, that's already your unfair advantage over the little guys. But
That's our one of our strategies because like you know they aren't all our licenses, and so we'd offer management services and eventually financial,
yeah,
and so like landlord services. So the in Illinois, if they put down or regulate the hemp market and they continue to batch out these licenses and they hire more regulators. They really need to hire more regulators in Illinois because the
hmm
process would go smoother. Like Missouri has a lot more regulators, and that's a good thing. But you would see a lot of these winners, provided that they won clean and there's not somebody behind the scenes who thinks it's actually their license and they have a contract they didn't disclose to the regulator.
mm,
Um, they would be able to then make deals, which is good because, like, you know, if you're just a social equity winner, what do you know about running a dispensary?
sure, anything. What
Uh,
do you know about running a restaurant? But
right.
yeah, I mean,
Management services and then landlord leasing services, but then you get access to larger buys. And so now you're not buying for a dispensary, you're buying for 10. And so
yeah,
because you're buying for 10 dispensaries, you get bulk price discounts. And so your
that's
gross margins go up.
sure.
Or you lower your prices as well. And so then people are coming to your shop. So like, our first shop will be the least profitable.
Tom's got that sexy MSO talk, but the one thing about this
Business.
proper or not the proper, but present legalization for each state is that cannabis, if it's a recreational state, is grown in that state, right? Like you're not the hemp thing. You don't know what state or where country the material was sourced. You can 100% guarantee. I mean, if the person's playing right, that's the thing about legalization, right? It's not going to stop bad players, but it'll help like enforce things. It'll make things correct. Take that license away if they're you know
Yeah.
not playing
Yeah.
rules.
And this supply is always going to be controlled. This is probably the least controlled the supply will get.
Mm,
And so, like after the Farm Bill is changing the definition of hemp, and the reason why, because they figured out how to tax liquor, and they could figure out how to tax cannabis too. You tax it on the amount of the THC, and so like there's a proof gallon that we have in federal law, and so if they had some method to have maybe it's milligrams per whatever. And so you're taxed on the milligrams of THC that you move or grow. And so that would be how I could see it going. Because Schedule 3, you're not supposed to really tax pharmaceutical drugs. But after we have the regulation, it's like, here's what all the things are to like run it correctly. Then you just drop it from the schedule entirely, and then you slap the tax on there based on the milligrams.
Or they keep flour one base tax, and then just the concentrate part, because of the THC thing like you're talking about. Like, I think just you can't really tax an organic value, but like you post, process. I think that's a definitely thing. Dude, we've been on this for a freaking hour already, dude.
Whoops, better get to the next story. It took years, but the SEC has charged Blitzerian and Ignite with fraud. So the SEC finally charged International Brands Limited, Paul Blitzerian, and 6 others for improperly recognizing and reporting revenue in 2020. Green Market Report wrote that the SEC was suing Ignite Brands for failing to produce documents that attempted to pursue an accounting fraud investigation. Ignite wanted the investigation subpoena stayed as the criminal authorities conducted an investigation. The SEC argued at the time that because the company was facing multiple investigations, it couldn't just ask the SEC to stand down. Yeah, sure.
You're telling me the guy that was just like blowing through money for his logo fucking wasn't doing a good business? Are you kidding me?
Telling me that he was falsely reporting how much money his company was making?
What?
Yeah, it's like he was trying to prop up a stock price. Anyway, how hemp THC are rewriting the rules of cannabis. That's been what they have. Corporate cannabis has taken notice. Well-known brands are starting to jump in. For example, Donald Trump, Cookies has gotten in. They got in 23. Curleaf is starting to get in. Mike Tyson, Jeter Brands is getting in. Snoop Dogg has got a line of THCA that he's going to start slanging here soon. And it could all get shut down. And so that's the thing, like, these operators have been waiting. It's not like they can't get in and take over the hemp market, but how much do you want? Like, people complain about the monopolistic aspects of cannabis in Illinois, at least. And then you look at how monopolistic the chicken farms are, and you look at how monopolistic like tomato farming is, or any type of business really in this country. How many airlines are there? A handful, and that's really what you're going to encourage. And so it's going to be a lot more monopolistic if it was completely legal, because you're going to see a lot of consolidation in M&A.
Yeah. I mean, what sucks right now, dude, honestly, it's the consumer. It's the consumer thing, right? These guys wouldn't be selling things the way they are if people weren't buying them, right? Like, I know people, the hemp farmer, like that guy I met from California, was the most, people who are doing well are happy. Like, they're fucking flushing cash, right? But like, this is not a real legalization thing. It's still not the proper plant. It's not real weed, and the consumers are just kind of lying to themselves. And if you're, and also, dude, if you're buying hemp Delta 9 flower because of Snoop Dogg's fucking name on it, you're a fucking idiot. Like that's just. I guarantee you Snoop's not smoking that shit. And I guarantee he doesn't even care. The man's, good on you. You make your bag. But like this bullshit that's happening and exists right now, it's kind of like the packing. Those stupid kids with all their little like, oh, look, I'm going to put this beautiful bud that should be like fluffy and crystally, compress it into this little CD pack just because it looks cool and like a Xbox game or some bullshit. Like, yeah, it's a novelty. It's fun, but like it's trash. It's not, this plant. It's like a delicacy, right? You gotta appreciate it. You gotta, get to understand it better.
Yeah, another huge story that we had this year, the marijuana rescheduling comment period. That was a big story. We had all those comments. 37,000 comments, more than that. I thought it was like 42,000.
I thought it was
43,000. Yeah, this one must have been written during the comment period. I think it was. And so they link back to another one of their stories. And so Shane Pennington is a well-known, respected federal administrative law lawyer in the Washington, D.C. area. And so he was working on an 85-page comment. My God.
Hey, do you I thought Mississippi had a medical program. Somebody asked about
Mississippi
Mississippi
has
in
a
the
medical
chat.
program. It's pretty good. You know,
Is it?
Mississippi's medical program is one of the better medical programs in the South, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Relative to what's going on in Georgia, Alabama, or Texas, Mississippi is right up there with Florida. And actually, Mississippi is better than Florida because it's more open to everyday entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs that have $50 million because you have to be a vertically integrated MMTC.
Wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I don't pay attention to many places, but I specifically pay attention to Illinois and Washington State.
Yep. And for example, this next one of their top tens, number $7 million dispensaries could soon be worthless. I'm like, oh, is this about hemp? And no, it was about the rents that you find in California being so high.
Mm.
Newsflash, California has real expensive real estate. And so
What?
you have some problems then if you are a dispensary in California. It's not just the illicit market or the THCA flower, it's also your rents coming due. Like our rent will be reasonable and enough to cash flow the mortgage on the property. But like that's because of where we're operating. Its real estate values are substantially lower than if we were trying to like do this in the Bay, for example.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm also excited to have a city work with us. Like that's going to be neat.
That's been nice. I just hope we get through underwriting reasonably soon so that we can, because then we're in a TIF district. And so like we'll have to do a TIF application as well for the funding. That's going to be fun.
Right.
And then we also have to do the special use zoning. And so it's just, hopefully we'll get some good news from the bank. Maybe this week, but maybe not because it's the end of the year,
Holidays.
So like holidays, right?
Yeah.
I knew nothing was going to happen last week, but we'll see what happens next week. All right, story number 8. Cannabis rescheduling faces uphill battle, but DEA decision expected soon. That was wrong. That was completely wrong. That was from February 1st. Boy, were we optimistic. Talk about sandbagging.
I got some new news. The Biden administration finally says American incarcerated in Russia over medical marijuana is wrongfully detained. It's from Marijuana Moment. So they finally.
What's that one from? Is that from like today?
Today, yeah, from Marijuana Moment. Today's 27. No, 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. This administration has acknowledged cannabis more and more, and I think that kind of like helps keep the conversation up top. I mean, I don't know what's so horrible that people are like, oh, recession.
It's
like
political.
Yeah, and now I get it, but like he did some shit. CHIPS Act, a lot of infrastructure stuff.
Yeah.
We're pointing to rescheduling. Like I was really hopeful that was going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen next 4 years.
Right. Tell you, the California filings look a lot like the Arizona filings, but a $35 million lawsuit, $35 million for a $1 million investment. That's interesting. So one of the larger stories is Planet 13 suing Casa Verde for fraud in spiraling cannabis financial dispute. Yes, this was like quite a bit ago. It was back in February. It filed a large lawsuit against Casa Verde for millions of dollars. And so like the Planet 13 is a Vegas or a Nevada license. They may also be building out in Florida. So they have what I like to call serious coin.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be interesting next year, dude. We're almost there. Matter of fact, I will see you next year.
You will. Yeah.
Another reason why I worry about legalization coming up and what's not going to happen, because here's a news story. 2 Oregon men died from exposure in a forest after they went to look for Sasquatch. No, let me just tell you
this. 2 adults, by the way. They're going to look for Bigfoot, and they die.
That's your voting population.
Bigfoot got them. Yeah.
But I'm saying one was 59. I'm fucking going to be 51 next week or next month.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. Well, and hey, Australia looks like it's kind of coming around. Australia, we have some Australian news. They have a regulated campaign that has been launched in Australia, trying to lobby for adults to have small quantities of cannabis and also cultivate up to 6 plants. Home grow is good for demand. It really is. And so you should at least have medical home grow. Or just adult home grow. Like Missouri and Michigan have both medical and adult home grow.
Sure.
They're selling a lot of weed because like I think it's when you grow it yourself, you have to share more of it because like it's just so much that you get. And so then I think it create and you become more of a connoisseur of it. So I just think it creates a virtuous cycle that
Hmm.
more people are turned on to the plant, and then more people want it, and then they're going to go buy it more often because you'll get bored of the same strain that you have.
Well, it's good to know your body and food and understand nature. Like that's what growing this plant, if you can, it involves. I mean, growing weed is easy, but growing good weed is hard and especially in
Yep.
mass amounts, right? This
Takes
is
a
the
lot,
stuff.
yeah, and mass amounts too, right? It takes a lot
Yeah.
of practice and a
The
lot of
prop.
equipment.
Yeah. But the props you got to give to an MSO, like I hate talking about big grows and big cannabis, but like that's going to be an inevitable. So like the
When it's like, yeah, when it's
yeah.
federal. But
Hmm.
right now we could have medical at Schedule 3, and then once you really start having interstate commerce, that's where you're going to get the most consolidation. But that would be a good thing in the sense that it would create an interstate, because the market's already interstate,
Mm,
but we're fighting against it,
yeah.
pretending like it doesn't exist, pretending that it's tantamount to heroin. And so like at the federal level, that's where we're at. So if we have a set of guidelines for what it means to be medical cannabis in Schedule 3, that might open the door to more interstate commerce. And then the three-tiered alcohol regulation. It's not like you can go to Budweiser.com right now and buy a six-pack,
That's
you
true.
know, right?
Well, and there's infrastructure for those, right? Alcohol that you can do those options, not directly from Budweiser, right? But like
But you need a
there are,
retail license. You need, so like
yeah.
it's all licensed. And so the
Hmm.
distributors have a license, the producers have a license, the retailers have a license. And the retailers, they usually have different types of licenses because like the license that you get at a restaurant is different than the license you get at a bar, it's different than the license you get at a grocery store, it's different than the license you get at a liquor store.
Yeah.
And so like all of those types of things hopefully come into play. I mean, people are like, when can I buy weed at Walmart? I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible. Why would you? First off, Walmart would need to have a license to get that. What? And they just don't understand that you need to have a
Yeah.
license to sell weed.
I would not want to buy weed at Walmart. It would have to be still from a store because it's like I get excited when I see like a hot sauce store. You're just like one specific thing that you really
How does
like.
that stay in money? And hot sauce stores have to be a loss leader for somebody's corporation or other income generating profits.
Yeah.
So like you'd rather have a hot sauce store that loses $50,000 a year than spend that $50,000 on Uncle Sam.
I'm just saying, like there, cannabis is always going to be a specific. I mean, like a liquor store,
Right.
but I don't see it being in the groceries. No,
Oh,
I
I
don't
tell
see
you,
it.
like the story from the out of Georgia is kind of makes sense. Then they had the little breaking right there. Jimmy Carter dead at 100,
Yeah.
but got weed for Christmas in another state. What to know about bringing it back to Georgia? I tell you, they probably keep it real. Can I bring legal marijuana to Georgia? The short answer is no.
Yeah. Any
But
state.
in Atlanta, it's not criminal to possess less than an ounce of marijuana, and it's just a $75 ticket. You know.
And this
But
is
in the
the
rest of
unfortunate.
the state, less than an ounce is a felony with a thousand
Mm.
dollar fine or 12 months in jail. And you
Ooh.
think that that felony that they have, that is not a fair, like that is ridiculous. That is terrible. But that is the law in Georgia. That's how much they hate the
Yeah.
weed plant. And that's what's coming to the Capitol Hill next month when they get sworn in, because a lot of these Republicans, they're conservative, and so like their voters that vote for Republicans, they may want legal weed, but
Yeah.
then magically, for some reason, once they get elected, they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not even allowing
Rescheduling.
that to come. Not even allowing that bill to come up for a vote."
Oop. Rescheduling's away right now. Like that's the only option I see. I don't see any bill passing in the next 4 years as long as grown men go hunt for Sasquatch and die.
They will continue to go hunt for Sasquatch and die. And so that was the Georgia show, or that was the Georgia one. Okay, I think that's all the news that we have. It was quite a busy holiday week. We were off last week. We won't be off next week. We'll have our deep dive into speculation about 2025. And then, Miggy, you have a couple of recorded videos that'll be coming out here
Yeah.
soon.
By the way, I'm working on one of those ones with was activist Don Skaki. Like, I think I've been fortunate enough to live in Washington State that has been like on the forefront of like what eventually will come to like the nation. But like, there are people who you'll never know. Like, right, everybody knows Dennis Perron, Jack Hare, but there are so many other people who've devoted their time and energy to like trying to just get this conversation going. And matter of fact, one just passed. Seattle Hempfest person, Sam Wade. I'm told he was one of the first people to bring dabs from Amsterdam out here, right? Like that became a thing. I know that dabbing was a huge thing in Washington State when it was medical. The whole BHO knowing CA2 and how to extract from this plant. A lot of it came from out here, right? Like there's some history from like the Sunshine cult, right? Like they did dabs too, right? Or some sort of hash. It's all
they were growing it,
yeah.
and that's why they started making stuff like this, was because it's a drug, and it's a lot easier to transport than bulky plant material, which is more of a horticultural good, so that if it gets wet or if it gets exposed to the wrong climate, can really go bad. It makes complete sense to process it so that it's shelf stable. Either way, it's one of those types of things. It's going to be fun next year, though. I want us to have a flat screen in the dispensary that's playing this channel and other channels that we like on YouTube about cannabis and cannabis news.
Oh yeah, and before we go, because like holy crap, you all been hanging out with us. It's been amazing. Like this is why we do it. But
That's
reach
right.
out to us. We got
that's where you can sign up for the newsletter that fires off when we do the program. So head on over to Cannabis Legalization News, and then if you click that, there's a join us or get in touch button. You can actually sponsor the program as well. One of the things that we hope to do next year is to get some sponsors, because we could do those little ad breaks about your brand. We cannot do ad breaks about dispensaries, but in theory, we could do product placement aspects of dispensaries. We have to comply with the terms of service of the YouTube content providers, and basically all the social media ones are pretty similar. So we can't tell you where or how or anything like that, or even prices. We have to be careful about discussing prices. Hopefully this hasn't been flagged 18 plus already, but it's just kind of what we're in.
I say just give me your weed. I'll tell you if it's booty or not. I don't want to lie to people. We'll be like,
there we go. You just mail weed to Miggy and he'll tell you, and that's what you should do. Strain reviews with Miggy 420. It'll be. And so if you want to do an episode of strain reviews, please send $100 and your sample to Miggy.
Don't be Delta 9.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Hey, and if you guys are one of our subscribers, I wanted to say thanks, for hanging out with us this year. It's our last show of the year. We'll be back next year. Hopefully you get to watch us open up shop, or the wheels will fall off the bus and you'll get to see a catastrophe happen in real time.
A lot of crying.
A lot of crying. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. We're situated fairly well going into 2025, and we hope that it's a wonderful year for you guys as well. And if you've ever considered why to join a channel, we put your name in the credits. And so we have 44 members, I believe. And then you also get access to all of the videos that we do early, because members get the videos first, not this live one. This is live, obviously, but you get your name in the credits and you get the videos first. So consider becoming a member of this wonderful channel. And then I just hit the end button and it starts the outro.
I think so.
See you next year, everybody.